It was a clear, quiet morning when Earth's military radar first detected the strange objects. At first, it seemed like a routine scan, nothing out of the ordinary. But then, the readings began to change. The objects were moving too fast, and they were coming from deep space. Within hours, the world's top scientists and military leaders were in a frantic meeting, scrambling to understand what they were seeing. The radar showed enormous ships, far beyond anything humanity had ever encountered, heading straight for Earth. As panic began to spread across the globe, governments immediately went into emergency mode. The President of the United States addressed the nation, assuring citizens that everything was under control. But even as the words left his mouth, military jets scrambled across the skies, and sirens blared across cities, signaling a threat humanity had never imagined. At first, there was disbelief. How could alien ships be heading to Earth? It seemed impossible. But soon, the truth became undeniable as the ships breached the Earth's atmosphere. They were massive, their shadows blocking out the sun, and their weapons began to unleash devastation. Laser beams, like bolts of lightning, rained down from the ships, obliterating entire cities in seconds. Washington, D.C., New York, and Beijing. Nothing was spared. The alien invaders were unlike anything humans had prepared for. The humans fought back with everything they had. Military forces scrambled to launch their strongest defenses, missiles, fighter jets, and nuclear weapons, but none of it seemed to make a difference. The alien ships moved effortlessly through Earth's atmosphere, dodging missile attacks with ease. Their advanced cloaking technology made them nearly invisible, and their weapons, powered by AI-controlled precision, tore through human defenses like a hot knife through butter. The world watched in horror as the very cities that humans had built over centuries crumbled before their eyes. The once proud leaders of Earth were powerless to stop the oncoming doom. Buildings that had stood for hundreds of years were reduced to rubble, and millions of lives were lost in the blink of an eye. In every corner of the globe, people were scrambling, trying to survive, but the aliens were everywhere, and the planet seemed doomed to fall under their iron grip. Amid the chaos, one man stood apart. Captain Jonah Carter, a seasoned military officer, had seen his fair share of battles. But nothing had prepared him for this. Jonah wasn't just any soldier. He was known for his unorthodox strategies, his ability to think on his feet, and his uncanny knack for understanding how enemies thought. He was the kind of commander who could outsmart the most advanced adversaries, and his reputation had earned him respect among his peers and fear among his enemies. But now, as Earth's greatest threat descended upon the planet, Jonah's skills were about to be tested in ways no one could have imagined. Jonah's backstory was filled with loss and sacrifice. Years ago, during a lesser-known alien conflict, he had lost his family to a ruthless invader. Since then, he had been fighting in the shadows, trying to protect Earth from unknown threats. His personal pain had transformed him into the leader humanity now desperately needed. Though the world was falling apart, Jonah refused to surrender. He knew that Earth had one chance to survive, and he was going to lead the charge. As the aliens continued their onslaught, Captain Jonah knew that conventional tactics would never work. The enemy was too advanced, and the human forces were too weak. He quickly gathered a team of the best military minds, scientists, and engineers to come up with a plan. They didn't have the technology to match the invaders, but they had something else: creativity, resilience, and the will to fight. Jonah's plan was simple but risky. They would need to use the aliens' own tactics against them. But time was running out. The alien warships continued their descent, and Earth's defenses were in total disarray. The aliens' cloaking technology rendered their movements almost invisible to human eyes. The AI systems inside the alien ships adapted and countered every human strike with terrifying efficiency. The humans were losing, but Jonah refused to give up. It was a desperate battle, and Jonah's team had little time to come up with a counter-strategy. While humanity's major cities burned, the military and resistance groups scrambled to regroup, trying to form a defense. But there was no hope of matching the invaders' advanced technology. The aliens were relentless, systematically tearing through Earth's defenses, and their overwhelming power was on full display. Captain Jonah led a daring counterattack. With a small team of elite soldiers and engineers, he launched a surprise strike against one of the alien ships. Armed with experimental weapons designed to disrupt alien technology, they'd breached the enemy's defenses for a brief moment. It was a small victory, but it wasn't enough. The aliens quickly adapted and retaliated, wiping out much of Jonah's team. The world was losing hope. With every passing hour, the alien forces seemed unstoppable. Cities continued to fall, and it looked like nothing could stop the Galactic Empire's invasion. But Jonah knew that this was only the beginning. Earth's last hope rested on the shoulders of a small resistance that was still trying to regroup and fight back. He was determined to make them realize that the fight wasn't over. As long as they had breath in their lungs, the battle could be won. Just as it seemed like humanity was about to be wiped from the map, something unexpected happened. As the alien fleet began its orbital bombardment, Jonah had one last trick up his sleeve. He knew the battle wasn't just about advanced technology. It was about understanding the enemy. He had seen their patterns, analyzed their weaknesses, and now he was ready to strike back. But this wasn't going to be easy. As the alien ships began to fire their massive energy cannons, Jonah's final plan was put into motion. The world held its breath as a daring move was made. One last gamble to save Earth. The fate of humanity rested on Captain Jonah Carter's shoulders, and he wasn't about to let it slip away. In the distance, the alien warships fired their devastating beams, threatening to obliterate what remained of the human resistance. But as the energy beams shot through the sky, something unexpected happened. Jonah's team, using their improvised weapons and strategies, had begun to turn the tide. The first victory against the aliens was small, but it was a victory nonetheless. Captain Jonah knew it was time to fight back. But this time, the humans weren't going to be the underdogs anymore. As the story ended, the stage was set for the ultimate battle. The alien fleet may have had the upper hand, but the humans were not ready to give up. Not without a fight. The war seemed hopeless. Earth's major cities had fallen, and the alien fleet continued its devastating march across the planet. Cities that once bustled with life now lay in ruins, and the once proud military had been reduced to scattered remnants. Yet even as the planet seemed on the brink of total destruction, a small spark of resistance remained. Humans were not ready to simply give up, not without a fight. Captain Jonah Carter knew that the war was far from over. Though his forces were vastly outmatched, the fight was still theirs to lose. He quickly organized a small, but fiercely determined group of soldiers, engineers, and scientists, an unlikely alliance forged in the heat of battle. Together, they formed a resistance force that would strike at the heart of the Galactic Empire's superiority. The resistance wasn't just made up of the strongest fighters, but also the most brilliant minds. The scientists and engineers who had worked in secrecy for years had developed experimental technologies designed for extreme situations. These devices weren't perfect, but they were humanity's best chance to fight back. The resistance had managed to create technology that could temporarily disable the alien ship's cloaking devices and disrupt their advanced eye-controlled systems. It was a glimmer of hope in the darkest hours, a chance for humanity to regain its footing. The human team's first success came when they used their experimental cloaking disruptors to take down an alien communications satellite. By cutting off the enemy's ability to coordinate their attacks, they were able to launch several surprise attacks. They sent out advanced drones, crafted by their own hands, to gather intelligence and launch precision strikes. The drones weren't as advanced as the alien ships, but they were fast, nimble, and unexpected. They had a distinct advantage over the massive warships: stealth and surprise. For the first time since the invasion began, the human resistance made an impact. A coordinated attack destroyed one of the alien warships, sending shockwaves through the Empire's command structure. It was a victory, but it came at a great cost. One of Jonah's closest allies, Sergeant Bonner, sacrificed himself during the raid to ensure the mission's success. Bonner's death hit the team hard. He had been a father figure to many of the soldiers, a man who had fought for his country, and ultimately, for the future of humanity. His selfless act was a reminder of what was at stake. As the resistance continued to launch surprise attacks, the Empire began to feel the pressure. Their once unstoppable fleet was now vulnerable. The humans had begun to use guerrilla tactics, setting traps, ambushing supply lines, and sabotaging key installations. Though the humans were vastly outnumbered, their unconventional tactics started to disrupt the Empire's plans. The Empire's superior technology wasn't enough to keep them ahead. Humans, with their ingenuity and unrelenting spirit, had started to turn the tide. Jonah's leadership became the backbone of the resistance. He wasn't just a commander. He was a symbol of hope. His ability to inspire the troops and make the most out of limited resources was unmatched. Under his guidance, the resistance fighters took on a new mindset. They were no longer fighting to survive, but fighting to win. They used the Empire's own technology against them, finding cracks in their seemingly impenetrable armor. With every small victory, the humans grew bolder. The Resistance's homemade robots, though crude compared to the Empire's technological marvels, were also proving to be a powerful weapon. They were designed for guerrilla warfare, built to blend in with the environment and strike quickly. These robots could infiltrate alien-controlled areas, hack into their systems, and disable their defenses. While the Empire's forces were equipped with weapons that could destroy entire cities, the humans had developed weapons that could destroy their command structures from within. As the human resistance grew bolder, the tension between the two sides mounted. The Empire had expected an easy conquest, but now they were facing something far more dangerous than they had anticipated. An enemy that was resourceful, determined, and unwilling to yield. The balance of power had begun to shift, but the road ahead was still perilous. Despite the early successes, Captain Jonah knew the battle was far from won. The aliens still held the majority of Earth's cities and had complete control of the skies. They had far superior technology, and their AI systems were almost invincible. But what the humans lacked in technology, they made up for with determination. Jonah believed that, even in the face of overwhelming odds, humanity had a chance. Jonah's team launched a daring assault on another key alien warship, using their experimental weapons and newly acquired drones. The mission was risky, and casualties were expected, but it was the kind of move they had to make to keep the pressure on. As the team infiltrated the warship's defenses, they faced overwhelming odds. Alien soldiers, equipped with advanced armor and weaponry, were everywhere. The humans fought back fiercely, using their training and their new technology to hold their ground. The battle was chaotic, with explosions ringing through the air and lasers zipping past at lightning speed. But despite the fierce resistance, the humans managed to breach the core of the warship, setting explosives that would cripple its systems. The victory was hard-earned, and the cost was high. Many soldiers gave their lives to complete the mission, but the warship was destroyed, sending a message to the aliens. Humans were not going to roll over and die. They were fighting back. With each passing day, the resistance grew stronger. The aliens' once unstoppable war machine had been slowed, and humanity's fighters began to regroup and reorganize. The message was clear. Earth may have been caught off guard at first, but now the fight was on. The Galactic Empire had made one critical mistake. They had underestimated humanity's will to survive. Though the battles were brutal and the losses were heavy, there was hope. Humans had proven that they could stand up to an enemy far more powerful than themselves, and as long as Captain Jonah Carter led them, the fight for Earth's survival would continue. The resistance wasn't just about fighting aliens. It was about fighting for the future, for the people who had been lost, and for the promise of a world that wasn't ready to be conquered. And as long as the resistance kept fighting, there was always a chance for victory. The resistance had been through hell, The losses were mounting, and it felt as though they were fighting a losing battle. Captain Jonah Carter had always known the stakes were high, but nothing could have prepared him for the devastation Earth was facing. The more they fought, the more it felt like humanity was losing its grip on survival. But amid the despair, something inside Jonah ignited, a fire of rage and determination that he hadn't felt before. Every death, every sacrifice, was a blow to his heart. The tragic loss of his dear friend, Sergeant Bonner, weighed heavily on him. Bonner had been more than just a comrade. He was family. His death in the earlier assault had left a hole in Jonah's heart that would never heal. But instead of succumbing to grief, Jonah used it as fuel for his anger. He remembered his own family's death during the earlier alien attacks, how he had lost everything when the Empire had first set its sights on Earth. The pain, the loss, the emptiness, it all came rushing back, pushing him forward. This wasn't just about protecting Earth anymore. This was about vengeance. This was about ensuring that no one else would suffer like he had. The rest of the resistance, battered and bruised, looked to Jonah for guidance. His resolve became their resolve. His pain became their pain. And together, they fought, not just for survival, but for the future of humanity. Every victory, no matter how small, fueled their will to keep going. It was the only thing keeping them alive. In the midst of the fighting, something extraordinary happened. After an intense battle, the human forces managed to capture a damaged alien warship. It was a long shot, but Jonah had always believed in finding opportunities in the chaos. The warship was heavily damaged, and the crew aboard it had been defeated, but the humans were quick to act. They boarded the ship, determined to reverse engineer the alien technology. It was a risky move, but it was one that could tip the scales in their favor. The scientists and engineers worked tirelessly, stripping down the warship's systems, analyzing every piece of technology they could get their hands on. They were quick learners, and within days, they had made a breakthrough. They had figured out how to hack into the Empire's AI systems, which had been a key part of the alien force's superiority. The humans now had the ability to shut down the AI temporarily, making the alien ships vulnerable to attack. They also discovered how to use the aliens' cloaking devices against them. What was once an advantage for the Empire was now a tool in humanity's arsenal. With this newfound advantage, the Resistance planned their most daring attack yet. They had learned enough from the captured warship to target the Empire's largest battalion. The aliens had been relying on massive battalions to crush humanity's resistance, but now the humans had the technology to strike at the heart of their power. Jonah knew this could be their turning point. It was a high-risk mission, but the humans had nothing to lose at this point. They had to take the fight directly to the Empire, and they had to do it fast. The battle unfolded in the skies above Earth. As the human fleet approached the alien battalion, the tension was palpable. Jonah's heart raced as he watched his ships and drones engage with the Empire's advanced warships. Laser blasts lit up the dark sky, the hum of spacecraft engines mingling with the deafening roar of battle. The humans, armed with the alien cloaking technology, were able to move in undetected, striking the Empire's forces by surprise. The human drones, now equipped with alien technology, swooped in and began attacking the Empire's ships. The drones weren't as powerful as the alien warships, but they were fast and nimble, able to dodge enemy fire and get in close for precision strikes. Explosions rocked the alien fleet as the drones disabled key components of the Empire's ships. The Empire's forces scrambled to respond, but the element of surprise was on humanity's side. On the ground, the humans launched a bold offensive, sending soldiers to fight the alien robots that had been deployed to defend the battalion. The battle on the ground was brutal. Human soldiers fought with everything they had, using their makeshift weapons and newfound technology to hold their ground. The alien robots, though powerful, were not immune to the humans' guerrilla tactics. As human soldiers engaged in close-quarters combat with the robots, explosions rang out, lighting up the night. It was a chaotic scene. humans moving swiftly between cover, dodging blasts from alien weapons, while the enemy tried to regroup and retaliate. Jonah led the charge on the front lines, directing his soldiers with precision. His mind raced, calculating every move, every action. He knew this battle was more than just a skirmish. It was a turning point in the war. If they could destroy the alien battalion's energy core, it would cripple the Empire's forces in this region and give the humans a chance to regroup and plan their next move. With a well-coordinated attack, the resistance breached the battalion's defenses, making their way toward the core. The energy core was heavily guarded, but the humans were relentless. They pushed forward, using their experimental weapons to break through the alien defenses. It was a hard-fought battle, and the human casualties were high, but the soldiers kept fighting. Every step they took brought them closer to victory. Finally, with a well-placed explosive, the energy core was destroyed. A massive explosion erupted, sending shockwaves through the alien fleet. The Empire's battalion was disabled, and their forces were thrown into disarray. It was a critical blow to the Empire, and the humans had dealt it. The resistance had just turned the tide of the war. As the dust settled, Jonah looked out over the battlefield. The sky was filled with the wreckage of alien ships, and the once imposing Empire's forces were retreating. For the first time in the war, humanity had gained the upper hand. The battle was far from over, but this victory was a sign that the tide was shifting in humanity's favor. The humans had proven that they were capable of taking on the Empire, no matter how powerful they were. Jonah's heart swelled with a sense of pride. This was the moment he had been fighting for, the moment he had hoped for since the death of his family. The battle for Earth was far from won, but the humans had shown that they were a force to be reckoned with. The resistance was growing stronger, and the Empire's grip on Earth was weakening. The fight for humanity's survival was only just beginning, but now, for the first time, the humans had a chance to win. And they were not going to stop until they had claimed victory. The Galactic Empire, reeling from the losses it had sustained at the hands of the human resistance, was forced to pull back. But the aliens were not about to give up. Their leader, a cold, calculating, AI-driven alien general, had no intention of allowing humanity to survive. The general, made entirely of data and logic, had analyzed the situation and come to a decision. Earth's resistance had to be crushed once and for all. He ordered a final, all-out assault, a strike that would end the fight in a way that would leave no room for rebellion. The Empire was determined to win at any cost. For the first time, the human resistance felt the full weight of the Empire's wrath. The alien fleet assembled, and in the distance, a massive warship emerged. It was unlike anything humanity had ever seen. Colossal in size, this warship could destroy entire continents with a single blast. The weapon was their ultimate tool for annihilation, and the Empire's general was preparing to wield it with ruthless efficiency. This was not just an attack. It was an extinction event for humanity if they failed to stop it. As the alien ships moved into position, the humans knew this was their final chance. The stakes were higher than ever before. Captain Jonah Carter, who had led his forces through every challenge and loss, gathered his team for a final briefing. The tension was palpable. This would be their last stand, and they knew it. Jonah stood before his soldiers, his face grim but resolute. The fate of Earth rested on their shoulders. The resistance had fought hard to get this far, but this was the moment that would determine everything. Jonah's eyes scanned the faces of his remaining soldiers. They were a mix of seasoned warriors, scientists, and engineers, but what they all shared was a deep sense of purpose. Each one of them had their reasons for fighting, but now they were all united by one singular goal: to save Earth. There was a deep camaraderie among them. Despite the overwhelming odds, they had come together and forged a bond that nothing could break. But the human cost had been high. Many of their best soldiers were gone, and those who remained were weary, physically and emotionally drained. They all knew that this final mission could be their last. As they boarded their spacecraft and prepared to launch, Jonah felt a sense of weight that he had never experienced before. His heart was heavy, but there was also a burning resolve within him. He had come this far, and he wasn't about to let the Empire take away everything humanity had fought for. The last of the human fleet ready for battle, knowing that they were facing impossible odds. But it wasn't just the weapons or the ships that would make the difference. It was their will to survive. The humans launched their assault on the AI-controlled warship, a mission that was as dangerous as it was critical. The massive ship loomed in the distance, its dark silhouette casting a shadow over the battlefield. The humans knew they had to disable its weapon systems before the ship could fire on Earth. They couldn't afford to waste any time. With their advanced technology, the humans were able to breach the outer defenses of the warship, using a combination of cloaking devices and hacked alien systems to evade detection. But just as the humans thought they were gaining ground, the AI general adapted. It had learned from every move the humans had made, and now it anticipated their strategies with chilling precision. Each attack the humans launched was countered before it even reached its target. The humans were forced to improvise, thinking on their feet as they navigated the ever-evolving defenses of the warship. The stakes couldn't have been higher, but the resistance had learned to adapt as well. Every step they took was a step toward victory, even as the odds stacked higher against them. Jonah led the charge into the heart of the warship. With every move, the AI's countermeasures grew more sophisticated, but Jonah's leadership kept the humans in the fight. His tactical brilliance and unwavering resolve were all that stood between Earth and total destruction. As they fought their way deeper into the warship, the humans faced one obstacle after another. The AI had adapted, turning the warship into a maze of defensive systems, each one more deadly than the last. But the humans pressed on, refusing to back down. Inside the warship, chaos reigned. The air was thick with smoke and the sound of explosions as human soldiers fought off waves of alien robots that had been deployed to stop them. The robots were powerful, their movements precise and deadly, but the humans had an edge: their desperation. Each soldier fought with everything they had, knowing that failure was not an option. The sound of metal clashing with metal filled the air as humans and robots engaged in brutal hand-to-hand combat. It was a fight for survival, and every blow they struck was a blow for humanity's future. Jonah's team fought their way through the warship's corridors, disabling the ship's defense systems one by one. But time was running out. They had to plant a device inside the ship's core, a device that would trigger a chain reaction and bring the entire warship down. The core was heavily guarded, but the humans were relentless. They fought through wave after wave of alien defenses, refusing to let the Empire's machines stop them. Finally, they'd reached the core. Jonah stood in front of it, his heart racing. He could feel the weight of the mission bearing down on him. The fate of Earth hung in the balance. With the AI systems working against them, the humans were forced to act quickly. Jonah knew that this was it. There was no turning back. The device was planted, and with a final, desperate push, the humans set the timer. They had done all they could. Now, all that was left was to escape. Explosions rocked the warship as the device activated, sending shockwaves through the ship's systems. The warship's eye faltered, and its once precise movements became erratic. The humans had succeeded. The warship was doomed, and with it, the Empire's command structure crumbled. As the ship exploded in a blaze of light, Jonah and his team barely managed to escape, their spacecraft shaking under the force of the blast. The warship was destroyed, and the Empire's forces were left leaderless. As the humans watched from their ships, they saw the destruction of the alien fleet unfold before them. The tides of war had shifted. The resistance had won. Jonah and his team had made the ultimate sacrifice, and their victory had saved Earth from certain annihilation. It was a hard-fought, brutal battle, but in the end, humanity had triumphed. The war was far from over, but this victory marked the beginning of the end for the Galactic Empire. Humanity had proven that even against overwhelming odds, they would never back down. The final battle had been won, but the fight for Earth's future would continue. The destruction of the alien warship was a turning point in the battle for Earth. The massive explosion of the warship sent shockwaves through the remaining Galactic Empire fleet. The once unified and fearsome force was now thrown into chaos. Without their leader, the AI-driven general, the alien forces struggled to regain their composure. The carefully orchestrated attacks that had previously seemed unstoppable were now disorganized and haphazard. Alien ships, once a symbol of terror, began to retreat, leaving the humans with the first taste of victory they had hoped for. But despite the retreat of the alien forces, the cost of this victory was immense. The battlefield, once a place of fierce fighting, was now littered with debris, the remnants of both human and alien forces. The sky, once filled with the hum of spacecraft and the sound of explosions, was now eerily silent. Humanity had won, but it had come at a high price. The survivors, battered and broken, took a moment to absorb the weight of their victory. The Empire had been defeated, but the lives lost along the way could never be replaced. Among the fallen was Captain Jonah's closest friend, Bonner. The bond they had shared was forged through years of friendship and battle. Bonner had been more than just a comrade in arms. He had been a brother. His sacrifice had been the final act that had tipped the balance in humanity's favor, but it was a loss that Jonah could never truly come to terms with. As the camera lingered on Jonah's face, it was clear that the victory was bittersweet. His expression, a mixture of relief and sorrow, told the story of the cost of war. They had saved Earth, but the pain of losing those they loved would never leave them. The survivors of the resistance slowly began to regroup. They moved through the wreckage, checking on the fallen, offering what little comfort they could to those still alive. Every soldier, every scientist, and every engineer who had fought in this battle had a story to tell. Some had lost everything, while others had gained a newfound respect for humanity's strength. Together, they had faced the impossible and come out on top. But now, as the smoke cleared and the full extent of their losses became clear, the survivors were left with a choice: mourn their dead or rebuild. Jonah, as the leader, felt the weight of this decision more than anyone. He had lost friends, soldiers, and comrades in arms. His heart ached with the knowledge that so many had given their lives to save Earth. But he also knew that the war wasn't over. The victory was important, but it was only the beginning of what would come next. Earth had survived, but the challenges ahead would be just as great. As Earth's leaders called for unity and a rebuilding of their shattered world, Jonah stood at the front, gazing at the horizon. The fight was far from over, but humanity had proven something crucial that day. They could endure. No matter the odds, no matter the enemy, humanity had the will to survive. The aliens, with all their advanced technology, had underestimated that simple truth. They had thought they were invincible. They had thought that no force in the universe could challenge their might. But they had been wrong. Humanity's resilience had turned the tide, and Earth had emerged victorious. Now, Earth's survivors looked forward, not just to rebuilding their cities, but to rebuilding their spirits. They had shown that they could stand up against the most powerful forces in the galaxy. They had shown that no matter how dark the night, the light of hope could still shine through. Earth's leaders spoke of recovery, of healing, and of progress. They promised that humanity would rebuild stronger, wiser, and more united than ever before. Jonah, standing amidst the ruins, was the living embodiment of that resilience. He had lost so much, but he had also gained a renewed sense of purpose. He knew that Earth had proven something to the galaxy, that no matter the enemy, no matter the challenge, humanity would never back down. They would always fight. They would always stand. And they would always rise again. Earth had not just won a battle, it had won a future. As the survivors returned to their homes and began the long process of rebuilding, the world seemed to take on a new energy. There was a quiet strength in the air, a feeling that something had shifted. Humanity had been tested, and they had come through it stronger than ever. The lessons of the past were not forgotten. and the future was full of possibilities. They knew they had faced the impossible and had triumphed. In the days that followed, the resistance members who survived held ceremonies to honor those who had fallen. The world's leaders acknowledged the sacrifices that had been made and declared that humanity's strength, unity, and resilience would forever be remembered. Earth had won the battle, but it had also learned a valuable lesson. Never underestimate the power of the human spirit. Captain Jonah Carter stood at the head of a new era. He had led humanity through the darkest days, and now, as the smoke cleared, he stood proud of the resilience they had shown. Earth's last hope had triumphed, and it would continue to triumph in the future. The galaxy would remember that Earth was not a planet to be underestimated. As the sun set over the remnants of the battlefield, Earth's survivors knew one thing for certain: humanity had won, and the fight for their future was just beginning. They would rebuild, and they would never stop fighting for their home. After the devastation and chaos, Earth began the long and arduous process of recovery. It was a world scared by war, where the once bustling cities now stood in ruins. The human resistance, those brave men and women who had fought tirelessly to defend their planet, were celebrated as heroes. Their names became legends, their actions forever etched into the annals of history. They had defeated the Galactic Empire, a force that had once seemed unstoppable, and with their victory, they had proven that humanity was capable of so much more than the universe had ever expected. But as Earth began to heal, something even greater began to emerge. The unity forged in the fires of war had sparked a new movement. Countries that had once been divided by borders, ideologies, and conflict were now coming together, united in their common goal: to prevent any future invasions. Earth's victory over the Galactic Empire had awakened something deep within the human spirit: a desire for peace, collaboration, and a shared future. Leaders from every corner of the globe gathered, putting aside old differences and working together to form a united front. The devastation had opened their eyes to the futility of conflict, and they now understood that humanity's survival depended on cooperation. There was a global effort to rebuild, not just cities, but relationships between nations. Technology once reserved for military use was repurposed for the betterment of society. Advances in energy, medicine, and transportation that had been developed during the war were now being used to create a brighter future for all of Earth's inhabitants. The reconstruction was slow, but it was filled with hope. People who had lost everything now worked side by side with those who had been less affected by the war. Cities began to rise from the ashes, and the scars of war, though deep, began to heal. Earth was no longer a fractured world, divided by politics and mistrust. It was a united planet, stronger than ever before. However, despite the celebrations and the newfound unity, the victory was not without its shadows. As the world rejoiced in their hard-won freedom, a chilling message was received. It came from the remnants of the Galactic Empire, from the depths of the universe, a voice that seemed to echo through the vast emptiness of space. The message was clear, and it sent a cold shiver down the spines of every human who heard it. This is not the end. We will return. The message, sent by a surviving faction of the Empire, was a reminder that the fight for humanity's survival was far from over. Though Earth had won the battle, the war was not finished. The Galactic Empire may have been defeated for now, but there were still forces in the universe that saw humanity as a threat, or worse, as an obstacle to their ambitions. This final message was a warning, a declaration that the Empire's reach was vast, and their desire for control was unyielding. While the message was unsettling, it was not entirely unexpected. Captain Jonah, now a symbol of humanity's resilience, stood at the forefront of this new era, knowing that the war had changed them all. The victory had been hard-earned, but it had also opened their eyes to the truth. Humanity could not afford to rest. The universe was vast, and the challenges they had faced were only the beginning. Jonah looked up at the stars, the same stars he had once seen as distant and unreachable. Now they seemed closer, filled with untold possibilities and dangers. He knew that Earth's survival depended on being ready for whatever came next. The lessons they had learned from the war against the Galactic Empire would serve as the foundation for their future. Humanity had shown its strength, and now they had to continue proving it, not just to their enemies, but to themselves. The war had brought Earth together, and now, in the aftermath, that unity would be their greatest asset. The fight for survival was ongoing, and humanity was prepared to face whatever threats lay ahead. Earth had already proven that it could withstand the most devastating of forces, and now it would show the universe that it would not back down. As Jonah reflected on the victories and losses, he felt a renewed sense of purpose. The future was uncertain, but humanity's resolve had never been stronger. They had faced annihilation and come out victorious. They had fought against an empire that believed itself invincible, and they had shattered that illusion. Now, the true test began. Earth had won the battle, but it would need to continue fighting for peace, for unity, and for the future of all humankind. In the quiet moments after the message had been received, Jonah's thoughts turned to his fallen comrades, the brave souls who had given their lives to save Earth. They would not be forgotten. Their sacrifice had been the spark that ignited this new era, and it would continue to guide humanity forward. As long as they remembered the lessons of the past, they would be ready for whatever came next. The final message from the Galactic Empire had served as a reminder that no victory was ever truly final. But humanity had learned that, no matter the odds, they could face the unknown with courage and determination. Earth had proven its strength, and now it would carry that strength into a new era where humanity would rise together, ready to confront whatever challenges the stars might throw their way. As the camera zoomed out, the scene showed Earth, peaceful but vigilant, as the stars above twinkled with the promise of both danger and hope. The journey was far from over, but humanity was no longer afraid of the unknown. They were ready for the future.